What's up, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of the 5280 podcast on the MHRT network. I am your host, as always. Friday, you suffer from a dirty cloud. Whoops. Something just fell. I'm your host, Manungus Creevy, as always, alongside my co-host, Cameron Parker, Gage Madrid, and Glenn Hauser. We would greatly appreciate it if you would head over to the MHRT network page on YouTube. Hit that join button. There's 3 options to become a member: $2 a month, $5 a month, $10 a month. And you can pick which one, and it gives you all the perks in there when you click it. Also, make sure you hit the thumbs up, the like, and the subscribe. Make sure you also head on over to Broncos Syndicate, hosted by Gage Madrid, and do the same thing. I don't know what the options are for his memberships, but make sure you hit the join button on that page too. Also, hit the thumbs up, the likes, the subscribes, all that. How are you guys doing?
Doing good.
We obviously had another heart attack game. I think that everybody in Broncos country has collectively lost 5 years off their lifespan, but outside of that, doing great.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So
I hope that's not the case, quite honestly.
Yeah, Glenn doesn't
I
have
can't. I'm nearing the end, apparently.
Glenn's on life number 8.
He's like a cat. But yeah, a lot of things happening. Not just the game. Obviously, as Gage just talked about, the Broncos and the Commanders game. Broncos win 27-26 in overtime after Nick Bonito blocks a 2-point conversion attempt by Marcus Mariota. And thank God he did, because they had a wide open guy in the end zone.
Hit him in the cast, which I apparently did not know that Nick Bonito had a cast on his hand. But, nonetheless, it hit him in a cast. And I think that, I think we'll dive into like this game and probably like everything, that's going to end up unfolding. But I think that for like, if there's one thing like for the Broncos, do they play down to their opponent? I think at times, yeah, I think they do. But I think on the flip side of this, aside from the Jets and Raiders game for the most part, which the Broncos did play down to, like the other teams that they've faced, for all intents and purposes, have given them their best in every single game. And we can talk about strength and schedule and stuff like that. And I think that for Washington, like, I think what we saw there was how much of a drop-off really there is, and at least in this current season, between Jaden Daniels and Marcus Mariota. Because
Marcus who?
Yeah, was it Marcus Mariota or whatever?
It's Mariota, not Mariota.
Yeah, Harry Potter reference.
He said that so many times, and I was like, wait. Is my whole life been a lie?
You know what? If you watch the intro, he actually pronounces it Marcus Mariota.
I saw that.
Marcus himself pronounced it like that. So maybe we have been lied to this whole time.
Doesn't mean we got it right.
But yeah, no, I just think that like if there's one of the things, one of the takeaways there is like the strength of the schedule, and everybody talks about New England and everything, but like whenever someone plays Denver, it's like they're circling it on their schedule and they're giving them their very best. Because aside from that Jets and Raiders game, it feels like the other teams have really risen to the occasion. And that Washington game was kind of like no exception, because like you're getting players who are playing up to the level that we've seen before in their prime, with guys like Zach Ertz, Deebo Samuel, even Marcus Mariota kind of like turned back the clock a little bit and was great in some moments. He showed why he's a backup quarterback, but he played exceptionally well, which I think we have to give him a lot of kudos for that, because I was not expecting. Then obviously something that frankly was not even on my radar screen that probably should have been, and that was the relationship between Cliff Kingsbury and Vance Joseph and the chess match that they had, that entire game. So I thought and I will say this too, like obviously we're Bronco fans, but just strictly from an NFL fan side of things, that game was fantastic. And reminder that some people wanted that game flexed out. Looking at you, Gage.
I never said that.
No, but I think there was some speculation of it wanting to be flexed out, and I'm so glad it wasn't.
Sure.
I am so glad it was not flexed out, because, that thing was like such a fantastic game from start to finish for it to be on prime time.
David Youngkin jumping in with the membership comment. Thank you so much for joining.
Let's go,
Win is a
David.
win regardless of
Thank
how
you,
we
David.
got it. It's true. I mean, it is, and I do want to dig into this game. We might as well just talk about it now because everything we talk about is going to be related to it. I didn't have that big of a problem with the offense. Obviously we still had some drops here and there. There were still some blocking issues outside of the, like wide receiver blocking, tight end blocking. And we still have RJ, at least in my opinion, RJ Harvey keep trying to kick the ball out instead of running it in the middle. And a lot of times it didn't work. I think I got it pulled up here, 13 carries for 35 yards, 2 touchdowns, but he averaged 2.7 yards.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, like, you look at Jaleel McLaughlin, right? He had 6 carries, 24 yards, 4-yard average.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think those two are going to get it done at this point.
Yeah, and I think that's
no, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say I think that's fair. But what's so interesting to me is like you turn RJ on in the red zone, he's a different back. Like he's actually a completely different back. Like the vision is decisive. It's like a quarterback. And maybe that's like one of the reasons why, like, as a quarterback, it's helped him maybe in the red zone to a degree because like he's decisive. Like he knows exactly when to cut. Like he knows exactly when the holes are happening in the red zone. But between the 20s, it's like, where's that same decisiveness, right? Like, and I'm not ready at all to get to jump ship off of RJ Harvey, right? Like he's a rookie and everything. It's just there's a bit of some frustrating, things happening, and this is still his only like second start, post J.K. Dobbins. So, I'm just gonna be a little bit more cautiously optimistic going forward a little bit. But yeah, it's still a bit frustrating for sure, a little bit between the 20s with RJ.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. Like, there are definitely frustrations and concerns both with RJ and Jaleel. I mean, Jaleel had 24 yards. 14 of them came on that one run that he scored it up the field. Like, I don't know, man. You just can't live with that at this point in time. Like you said, RJ does make a difference in the red zone, but you can tell this team is missing that downhill rushing element that J.K. Dobbins brought to the table. And the lack of vision from RJ Harvey does get really frustrating. There were like 4 or 5 plays that I saw out there where he had something up the middle, even if it were just like for a 3 or 4 yard gain. That's better than getting popped at the line of scrimmage or getting popped in the backfield because you tried to bounce it to the outside, or even just slightly bounce it to the outside to like that second lane, not fully outside. That's still something that he struggles with. And you got to be more patient in waiting for those holes to develop. Even if you wait for like half a second, you'll see something up the middle, and you can just fight for those yardages down there. So that's what I think the Denver Broncos need to try to find is some running back that can consistently do that. If it's Harvey, great. If it's Bidet, great. If it's Jaleel, great. But I don't know if they're going to bring in somebody from outside the building to try to compete with them, because they would have probably already done so at this point in time. So it's just all about figuring out what they have in the building and how they can best utilize them until J.K. Dobbins comes back.
And conversely, the Washington running game was spectacular. I mean, our defense could not stop them. Somebody I was talking to me at work, and they're like, I don't understand why teams don't just consistently just run all the time on the Broncos. With that pass rush, the running defense is the weak link in that unit. I mean, I hearken back to the first Raiders game, and they charged right down the field, and it was all runs. Genty scores that touchdown, and then they actually abandoned the run completely, and Geno got his ass kicked, in the rest of the game. I have a feeling that the Raiders are going to be running a lot this coming week, just based on the fact how that previous game happened, and also with the success that Washington had. Those two guys were spectacular, especially Rodriguez.
Yeah, and you do have to kind of give some credit to Cliff Kingsbury on this for how they were able to scheme up some of those plays. And you hope as a Broncos fan that Kingsbury didn't exactly give the blueprint on how to beat the Broncos on on a defense, although I would argue that Kansas City tried to do that exact same thing against them, and they were not successful as much in the running game versus Washington. But I just think that all in all, the run defense has been solid on the year. Like it has been solid on the year. But these last couple weeks, it's been a bit leaky. And frankly, the defense in general has been a little bit leaky, when it comes to the tackling and kind of giving up some of the big plays. Like they won't allow maybe many touchdowns or so, like, they've done in the past and everything. But when it gets a bit leaky, it's a bit frustrating. And when you see that kind of stuff, that's like the old Vance Joseph type defenses that were truly bend but not break. We're not allowing touchdowns, but we're allowing so much yardage, and everything. But I think the other frustrating for me too is just like, because like the run defense is solid, it's like it has no business being that bad. Like you have DJ Jones, John Franklin Myers, Zach Allen, Malcolm Roach, and even Awama Wazarike. You actually have big human beings that are in that defensive line. It has no business being as bad as it really is. So I think there's just something going on schematically with how they were able to get things open, but that's got to be corrected ASAP.
Well,
I agree. And overall, I just feel like JFM, Zach Allen, I mean, he had a good day in pass rush, but not so much in run defense. And even DJ Jones, before he got shaken up in that game, he was getting washed out in the run game. The linebackers, they weren't really helping out, especially Alex Singleton, who was a badass and a warrior for being able to come back and play in that game. But still, he did have a little bit of issues in the run defense, but made up for it with a couple of really nice plays and coverage. So, yeah, that's all stuff that needs to be cleaned up. I'm very confident in the coaching on the defensive side of the ball, the schematics, the personnel. They're going to get this shit figured out, and they're going to get it figured out quickly. I have no concerns about the defense moving forward because I'm confident in Vance Joseph and Sean Payton as well to recognize the issues and get them fixed ASAP.
Yeah, it's weird, but it almost felt like it was a bye week hangover, right? Like we have all that momentum going into the bye week, and then bye week, and it's just kind of gone. And now we're going into the Commanders cold, right? Like that's kind of what it felt like. But I think one of the biggest things, we're talking about the defense, and we'll talk more about the defense and Vance Joseph. But when you talk about the offense and the failures we've had on offense, it really feels like the biggest part we're missing from J.K. Dobbins is the consistency and the balance, right? You look at Bo Nix, he threw 45 times. And maybe it's just me, but I don't want my quarterback throwing more than 35. That's too much. Right? And it feels like because we don't have Dobbins and we can't get those big chunk plays in between the hash marks, that we're having to throw the ball more because we don't have that balance on offense anymore.
I agree, but I will say this, though. The last couple weeks, you also want to feed the hot hand. And I think the last couple weeks, we've kind of transformed a little bit into a bit of the Drew Brees type of offense for the Denver Broncos under Bo Nix. And Bo Nix is a dude. Like, he's a dude. Like, he's a dude who's operating at the Drew in that Drew Brees type of offense. And I think that what it's clear is that they can do that. If they don't have the ability to be successful in the running game, they can do different things in the passing game to make it effective, which is getting it to some of those running backs that are ineffective running the ball in space. Like we definitely were really critical about RJ Harvey running the ball, but one thing that he has clearly shown that he is so capable of is running in space. Harvey in space is exceptional. And if there's one thing too post-bye week that we were so happy to see was the connection that may be a huge thing as we come near playoff time, and that is this Evan Ingram and Bo Nix connection. We finally got a chance to see that. And I think that when you have this offense, no, they aren't world beaters in a sense of like players all across the field that are like Pro Bowlers, All-Stars, whatever. Like, they have great players on this offense, but what Sean has been able to do is really have a true quarterback, pun intended, and literally just throw to every single player that is available on that offense, and they are getting first downs at will through the air. And Bo Nix is like third in the NFL in passing attempts. And that was even before J.K. Dobbins, injury went down. So Sean clearly loves throwing the ball with Bo, and Bo has delivered every single time.
Yeah. I mean, Bo Nix has taken his game to that next level over these past couple of games, which is really awesome to see. The decisiveness, him distributing the ball to all different areas of the field, like you talked about, Cam. His operation pre-snap at the line of scrimmage, which I feel like has been very good all season long, but that's still something that's been really good. I've just been overall impressed with everything on the offensive side of the ball, and it all starts with Bo Nix and the throws that he made in this game. Obviously, the touchdown throw to Cortland Sutton where he was this close to touching the ground, and he gets this thing off sidearm. In the words of Tony Romo, that's a little Mahomey. So that was really cool, man. That was really, really cool. And the command that he had, checking into that jerk route to Evan Ingram at the end of the game in overtime to set up that 41-yard catch and run. That was awesome. And I love how you brought up that Bo Nix to Evan Ingram connection. I talked about this on my channel. Ingram is finally looking like the dude we expected him to look like in terms of that reliable target on dump-offs. Just get it to him in space and let him pick up the first down. Really reliable target for Bo Nix in this game. So I've been very pleased with what has been developing on that side of the ball over these past couple of weeks.
And that play you described, or at least the pre-snap activity on Bo's part, what was great was that the mics picked it up perfectly. So we really got to actually see him in full command right there. And what's cool too, Gage, is you're talking about him taking it to another level in the last couple of games. That came on the heels of him being absolutely shredded. To talk about Broncos having to draft another quarterback, the complaints about his footwork, which I didn't see any evidence of some bad footwork in this game. The first couple of throws to Ingram in this contest actually were not good, but he still stuck with him. And I think the way he was, Bobby Wagner is a great coverage linebacker, and Ingram really showed what we could possibly do the next 5 games, because if we can copy that same sort of blueprint on our side, especially against a future Hall of Famer, I mean, there's no reason to believe that we can't do it against some of these other linebackers that we have coming up.
Yeah. Well, and I think that, when you specifically look at this game, what should make a lot of Broncos fans, and I would argue there have been a few games even in the early part of the season on game-winning, drives or whatever, at a time, maybe it seemed like the defense was kind of lacking a little bit. But if there is one thing that should make Bronco fans ecstatic, is the fact that what seemed like the first time all season the defense didn't have it together, the offense said, I got you. The offense said, I got you. Bo Nix said, I got you. And they delivered. And but to the defense's credit, for as much as they were really leaky the entire game, they made the play that won the entire game. And frankly, at the end of the day, that's all that matters. And as much as we even at times would be dogging Riley Moss, he left out that big play to Deebo Samuel. But what did he do? A play that, frankly, people should be talking about more, even though he gave it up. He didn't give up that touchdown. If he gives up that touchdown, we may be having a completely different conversation. And so, I just think that just all in all, there were some little things that obviously need to be corrected. But the first time really all season where we can say the offense said, I got you this entire game, they did, and they absolutely delivered. And look, there are so many Dragon Slayer 69s out there that are probably, figuring Bo has a noodle arm still and everything. I asked them, repeatedly to go look at that play that Chris Collinsworth even was glazing Bo Nix on, which I never thought was actually physically possible. But and literally a throw to Cortland Sutton. That is a top 4 quarterback type of play. You go turn that on. That is a play that everybody never thought was in Bo Nix's bag. And he delivered in that moment.
Yeah, and we sit here and talk about Riley Moss a lot. Was it Burke that made that catch?
Burks.
So a lot of people are getting all upset, like, oh, see, Riley Moss again. Dude, perfect coverage. Odell Beckham style catch. There was nothing else he could have done.
The catch was spectacular.
Like, nobody's like PS2 is not going to stop that. It's just perfect throw, perfect catch. Nothing you can really do about it. You know what I mean? But when you go back and we talk about Bo Nix, 29 to 45, 321 yards, 64% completion percentage for a touchdown and a pick. That pick was bad. I will say that. Like, that pick was bad.
But if you can put it in context, because Von Miller was coming around on a stunt and clogged his vision for just a second. I don't think he even saw Wagner there just because Vaughn got in his way for a second.
Which is ironic because Vaughn usually gives vision. Now he's blocking vision.
Yeah. There you go.
Vaughn's vision.
Talking about. Well, we've talked about the offense and the defense, and there's 2 things I want to talk about on one on each. So we'll start with the offense. The Broncos make a move. Was it today or was it yesterday?
Today.
Yeah,
they signed Elijah Moore onto the practice squad. And I'm not saying he's been great, but with the name recognition, with where he was drafted, he's going to come off of the practice squad and go onto the full roster. But what does that mean? Does that mean that we're, and we were talking about it in the group chat, like what player does that mean bad things for? And we were all saying Marvin Mims probably.
Yeah.
At least offensively, right?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Mike said, would you take him off the special teams and put Elijah Moore there?
Well, I'm just so that way you get more of Marvin Mims on offense. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just trying to figure out what the Elijah Moore signing means.
That impression was impeccable. I mean, I closed my eyes on it.
It really was. I thought I was talking.
We got Frank Caliendo on the show tonight.
But Marvin Mims is kind of like the most obvious one. And it's frustrating because it's like I've been a pretty pro Marvin Mims, person when it comes to him because you can see the upside on it. But they don't use him. Right, like and they don't use him, and is that just because they aren't impressed with his route tree? Because I think that the thing for me is like, if you aren't going to use Marvin Mims, then bring in Elijah Moore, right? Because if there is one thing that I know that Marvin Mims is obviously spectacular at and elite at and all pro at, is special teams. I mean, we said it last week. He is darn near close of housing one. And you don't want to mess that up. But I think that, and it kind of comes back to this, is that bringing Elijah Moore in, I will say this, it brings back the comment that I made earlier, which is I wonder if the Broncos are really leaning hard, that if they're not succeeding running the ball, that we see this offense turn into that Drew Brees type of offense, which is you need a lot of space eaters. And Elijah Moore is going to end up being one of those players that can really eat up that middle of the field and down the field and everything, because they need a speedster and everything. And I would not be surprised if we see a little bit of some packages, once he's promoted the 53-man roster, where you see Franklin and you see Moore on the field and you see a little bit more speed on the field, which is something that maybe you were getting that with Marvin Mims, but just Marvin wasn't maybe executing at the level that the Broncos maybe needed to. But I would just say I'm a little bit excited for maybe what this can give, because the guy's only 25 years old. The guy's, which is so surprising. So he's a great project.
I
didn't he have a big game? Didn't he have a big game against us? With the Browns
smoked us last year.
Yeah, he killed us over 100 yards,
like 14 targets too.
Well, sorry, I do want to bring this one up where it says Moore will bump Humphrey from the game day lineup. I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know that Sean Payton loves Lil Jordan Humphrey, but I think like one of the biggest reasons they brought him back is because we needed guys on the outside that could block.
Yeah.
And when you think of wide receivers that are good at blocking, Lil Jordan Humphrey is that guy. And I don't think Elijah Moore is going to be like the blocking wide receiver.
So if we're saying we're not going to take Mims off of special teams because that would be crazy, especially because it does feel like he's going to bust one out. Who played last week that doesn't play this week on the 53 with if Moore gets elevated?
I've got an unpopular take on that. Troy Franklin.
Oh, shut your face.
I think they're getting frustrated with Troy Franklin's drops. I like Troy, but the development I don't think is coming as quick as they were hoping that it would. I mean, we're seeing Pat Bryant take his game to the next level, and you can't take him off the field right now. For me, Troy Franklin makes the most sense. Marvin's barely seeing the field as is, and like we talked about with Humphrey, you're not going to take him off the field because he's your best blocking receiver, and that's the whole reason why you brought him back from the get-go. So that pretty much leaves Troy Franklin, and he's left a lot of yards on the field, and I just feel like they're frustrated with that, and they're ready to try something else. Also, this Elijah Moore move might not be so much for 2025 as much as it is for 2026 and beyond. You know, we keep talking about all these moves that the Broncos could make in the offseason at wide receiver. Maybe they trade for Jalen Waddle, or the pipe dream would be obviously Justin Jefferson. Yeah. We're also talking about maybe them drafting a wide receiver in the top 100. Maybe Elijah Moore is one of these dart throws where if he pans out for you, fantastic. You've got a wide receiver that you can work with, and he can play that Z position, which is, I feel like, kind of eluding the Broncos right now. They've got a bunch of dudes, but I don't think they have a true defined Z on their roster. Bryant, I think he's more big slot, X receiver profile. He's a bigger dude, and he can block, obviously, so you'll play him in line as well. But I think Denver's just wanting somebody who they can put in motion pre-snap, somebody who they can put on like these orbit motions and stuff like that. They just don't have a dude who consistently does that.
So would Elijah Moore be the guy that would, you know how they'd have Marvin Mims do like the jet sweep? Would that be more of an Elijah Moore thing now then?
Yes. Maybe, that's one of the reasons why I'm thinking it's a bit more of a Marvin Mims thing. And frankly, I'm at the point with Troy Franklin. I don't think it's a Franklin thing because if there is one thing that I know, and with what we specifically have seen so far this season, the team believes in him, right? Like the team believes in him, and specifically the quarterback has believed in him dating back to college. So for whatever reason, hypothetically, like if they moved on from Troy Franklin, that means they're fed up with Troy Franklin. That means that Bo Nix is fed up with Troy Franklin, which would be devastating, you know? And so I think that, you know, I don't necessarily see it necessarily. I still think it's more of a Marvin Mims thing. But I think that if there's one thing that we can all say though about this wide receiver room specifically is they are definitely an unselfish group. Like they are not a selfish and everything in terms of the group. I mean, you got teams in Philadelphia and everything, like they're blocking their tails off. They're blocking their tails off. They're
Judy.
They're making correct picks, if you will, you know, on some pass plays like Troy Franklin did on the Pat Bryant slant that got him into the red zone and everything. So I mean, like they're a selfless group, and I think that when you have that is something of a unit you don't want to break up at all.
Mike, when you asked what Cinnamon Pass was, I was afraid the answer was going to be a dancer.
Dude, I thought it was going to be dirty.
Shotgun Willies or something.
Like I said it, and then I was like, oh, I probably shouldn't have asked that because I'm going to get something nasty in here. I can't. What does that say?
There you go.
6 and 6. I thought
you'd 6.
That was for that Mahomes dick rider.
This week. Yeah, for sure.
I don't even know what 6-7 means, and I don't give a shit.
Nothing. It doesn't mean anything.
Doesn't mean anything.
Oh man,
I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I was excited about the Elijah Moore signing. It was interesting that we went after wide receiver, not running back. And I know Gage, you alluded to probably just keeping it with people inside the building, but at what point do we actually look at some of these other guys that are out there that maybe can contribute in the wake of J.K. Dobbins? You know, I mean, Sean is still floating the carrot that Dobbins could come back. I don't know how deep into the playoffs we'd have to be for him to be able to do that, but
yeah,
I don't know.
I agree though to what Gage was talking about. I think, this is setting up. Like, this roster was already, it seemed, according to Sean Payton, fine, going into this season. I do wonder, though, if this is setting up for a big money move for wide receiver, and that may not even be in the draft, but just simply bringing in a big ticket wide receiver or a big ticket running back or big ticket running back. Because I think that if there is one thing that I will say, and obviously there's a relationship between Breece Hall and Aaron Glenn as of now, but there's one thing that, if by chance Aaron Glenn and the entire front office of the New York Jets wants him to leave, something would tell me that we live in this world of NFL connections. He would call up, if you will, Sean Payton, who they have a lot of familiarity with, George Payton, Darren Moogie, if you will, and just say, if you really, really, really want to succeed, I would go to Denver because Sean will actually treat you right there. And so I'm not ruling out the Breece Hall thing. I will say I think J.K. Dobbins is likely to come back, but I will say that it's probably one where you're looking at Breece Hall and J.K. Dobbins, right? Breece Hall, then J.K. Dobbins, and that's which I don't want to say settle because it just feels weird. Settling on J.K. Dobbins would be a weird thing to say because he has earned the right to be extended and he has earned the right to get like a 2-year deal, here in Denver. But yeah, I think that if there is anything in terms of like big money moves this year, this next year, wide receiver and running back is something I would very much circle if I was the Broncos.
And there is one small pushback that I have with Gage and Troy Franklin. What I will say is you can definitely tell that there's been a lot of growth and there's been a lot of advances in his game between last year and this year.
Yeah.
And I do think at this point we haven't seen the best version of him. I don't think we'll see it this year. Maybe.
There's glimpses though.
Right. You can definitely see the flashes of holy crap, this could be good. He's got to figure out the hands.
He does.
But like Cam said,
that was just pure speculation on my part.
Yeah.
But Cam's wrinkle in the ointment there, the fly in the ointment, I should say, is that if they do make a move with Franklin in terms of benching him or anything like that, that definitely they consulted with Bo Nix prior to that, and that just brings a whole nother layer to the story. And who knows what that relationship would be like after that?
It would have. You could just assume it would be officially severed.
Yeah, I would think so.
Can you bring up Tat Ryder's comment, please, on Mike Tomlin? How is he good?
The how is he good or this one?
No, the how is he good?
Yeah, I was actually typing it out.
For me, at least, he's good at managing big personalities. That's something he's been able to do his entire career. Like, he has had some of the biggest, most loud personalities from Big Ben to Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell, all the people that predated them, and more recently, guys like George Pickens, Chase Claypool, and he's been able to manage those cats really well. And he's never had a losing season in his career. That clearly needs to mean something. Exactly. Those years of winning records don't come easy. He hires the right people around him for the most part. Where his shortcomings are a lack of willingness to adjust, I'd say, to today's scheme. And he tries to run the same stuff over and over again. And the message that he sends maybe just gets stale after a while. It may be time for something different in Pittsburgh. That's not to say that Mike Tomlin's a bad coach or that maybe if he goes and tries to spread that message somewhere else, it might work. It's just kind of gotten old and stale there in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, and I see his comment about Pickens. It goes way beyond Pickens. He had a roster of James Harrison. He had a roster of Le'Veon Bell. He had a roster of Antonio Brown, Mr. CTE. He has multiple personalities that he coached. And I almost kind of like make the comparison between college and pro that he's like the Dabo Sweeney of between the NFL and because I agree with you. I don't think he's one where he's actually adapted to the time. And I think that it's specifically evident that if they really wanted to keep up with the times, they would have made a big quarterback move post Ben Roethlisberger to truly maintain that ship. Because if they were going to maintain that ship post Roethlisberger, they would still be afloat. And they really haven't. They just been grabbing Band-Aids after Band-Aids after Band-Aids. And Tomlin is a good coach at managing Band-Aids. But at some point, you have to rip that Band-Aid off and actually be aggressive, for that. I just think that, it's just something where it's just, I don't know. They really don't become something, if you will, in the future for it.
Jeff, I promise you we're going to talk about it. But Gage got me distracted with the Steelers talk. So hold on.
But I also think too that the Steelers they pride themselves in the fact that they've had 3 coaches since the late 60s. They're not a team that makes all these changes, blah, 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 blah. It just feels like this is his last year there. And they are still in the playoff hunt. That's what's crazy about all of this is that there's this speculation that he's washed and they still could make the postseason. I mean, they have a really good shot of that.
He is a good coach. And it's not even denying that. He is a great coach. He will probably go down as one of the best coaches of all time, and probably into Canton and everything. But at some point in the last 5 years, it's started to kind of come out, kind of come down to earth quite a bit.
A lot of 9 and 8s, barely getting that winning season as opposed to.
And the last part of this comment is kind of what I want to talk about. Look at Pickens now. I mean, Pickens is the same guy that he was in Pittsburgh, right? He's still a dickhead. He's all-star talent. There's no denying that. And it was the same thing in Pittsburgh. But after Ben Roethlisberger, who did he have at quarterback, right? Justin Fields, Russell Wilson,
he didn't even have
Mason Rudolph, all these guys that were just guys. And he whined his way out of Pittsburgh and went to Dallas. And now he's got Dak Prescott, but he's still a dickhead. Yeah. And we had this conversation in the group chat. Would I want Pickens? Talent-wise, absolutely I'd want Pickens on the Broncos. Would he be a good locker room fit? Probably not. But I'm not going to be upset if we got him.
Oh, yeah. I've got the worst cramp in my toe right now. Oh, God, brother. My toes are overlapping like this. It's so cramped up.
Well, yeah, and I think that, that was my
all those feet pictures, Gage.
Just put them up on the OnlyFans page.
I think you're spot on, Mike, because I think that for some fans, they have a problem, and I don't know what it is. They have a problem with, separating who that player is in terms of culture in the locker room and the player that they are on the field. And specifically, Gage is so much.
And you start massaging your feet on camera, we're going to OnlyFans.
That's kind of what I'm trying to do right now. I'm just trying to get this thing to fucking stop cramping.
But and so that's the thing with Pickens is just for example's sake, they did not start Pickens and CeeDee Lamb on that Monday night game, was it? Because both of them, probably due to Pickens' influence, were out partying in Vegas 5 hours after curfew. That literally will not fly in a Sean Payton type of system.
And
I don't know
CeeDee
how.
Lamb was allegedly puking in a trash can afterwards.
Yeah, and I don't know how often I need to say this. I could say this loud until the dogs come home. That kind of culture is not great for a Sean Payton type of team, specifically when we're talking about the selflessness about this wide receiving room. When Cortland Sutton literally this year and like 2 years ago had 0 targets, 0 catches, and never said a word. You know, like, and never, like, yeah.
Or you go
what
with the
did Bo
Jerry
say
Judy
after?
who are just screaming at Shedeur Sanders on the sideline.
Exactly.
Yeah. And what did Bo say in the post-game interview? You know, he talked about how he's been on some close teams, but this one was way up there. And he talked about how these guys in the locker room love one another and care about each other. And that is exactly why these personalities that we're talking about really can't be a good fit, because you're not going to change somebody, especially after they're going to get that big payday like that. You know, there are plenty of other good wide receivers that are great wide receivers that are solid people. Oh my God.
Be right back. I gotta get some water.
He's gonna reenact Aaron Rodgers in his press conference.
He's gonna start like scooting across the carpet trying to get the cramp out.
No, he's gonna reenact Aaron Rodgers like in the press conference. He's gonna pull out his toe and just start messing with his toe.
There you go. That'd be great.
What is happening right now on the other side of that door?
I don't even know.
Let's take guesses. Like,
I don't want to know. Jesus, dude,
I
chug
think
a
he's asking
Gatorade.
somebody for help.
Put some salt on your tongue. So Cam, we talked.
It's like splashing out of his mouth. He looks like the
Cam,
milk after
we
the
talked
Indy
about
500,
this.
you know.
We sit here and talk about George Pickens. We sit here talking about Elijah Moore. Last week we talked about Justin Jefferson and the Vikings and how he's unhappy with the Vikings, at least as of right now. And Adam Schefter actually was asked a question about the potential of Justin Jefferson seeking a trade. Again, after talking about this last week, do we even think that's a possibility? And how much are we going to have to give up if it were to happen?
It kind of goes back to the comment of like, you made even the great comment of like, you made even the great comment of like, we really didn't know whether or not Micah Parsons was going to end up being dealt until like in this offseason, right? But I think, do I think it's going to happen? No. But if there is one thing we know about the NFL, is it's unpredictable.
Yeah.
You know, things can switch on a dime. And if there is even a sniffing's chance that Justin Jefferson is available, you have to call. And frankly, that is a comment to kind of like bring back with George Payton that he's mentioned multiple different times, and that is they're in every single call, whether we know it or they, you know, and everything. Like, they're in every single call. And I have to think, with it being truly like a Vikings type of thing, I have to think that there's maybe something between George Payton and the Vikings where, like, okay, first name basis, like, I'll at least call them to get a decent gauge for where he's at. But I think that it's obviously going to start with 2 firsts, and then you give them whatever they want. And obviously that's a very loose comment, but when I'm saying, you know, whatever they want, I mean, you want Riley Moss? Go take Riley Moss. You want Marvin Mims? Go take Marvin Mims. You want Troy Franklin? Go take Troy Franklin. You want anybody that's on this other end as an offensive weapon? I will gladly, you know, I don't think they would trade Benito. I really don't. Specifically, the fact that I think they got Dallas Turner there, and I think they got another really stud pass rusher, but I've been wrong before. I have definitely been wrong before. But yeah, it starts with 2 1s, and then you just roll with that as far as whatever you can do contractually, because there's no doubt that the Broncos financial, you know, team and ownership can clearly make it work financially with Justin Jefferson's contract.
Well, and I think the other side of this, sorry guys, I think the other side of this is when you look at the Vikings, I don't think JJ McCarthy's it. Like, he's shown a little bit, but and plus he's really weird. That guy is weird. And then who played this week?
Brosmer.
Yeah, he ain't it.
Former UNH quarterback.
Yeah, who was so upset that he left and went somewhere else.
Minnesota.
He played 5 years for us. What are you talking about?
Yeah. But if you're looking to rebuild the Vikings, what other piece can you play besides Justin Jefferson? Like, he's the best player you got.
Yeah, and I think that there's also another one that's, at least if you're going to talk about trading for Justin Jefferson, there's another one that I think would be worth kicking the tires on down there in Minnesota, and it would be Jordan Addison. Like, because they have some decent options. Like, and I wouldn't even just stop at Jordan Addison. I think there's one that, and I think it was a fake rumor for this trade deadline, but it's worth, kicking the tires on this one. And it would be TJ Hawkinson. Like between Addison and TJ Hawkinson, those would be the two that I would most certainly be kicking the tires on if I was the Broncos and wanted that. So, I mean, obviously Justin Jefferson is like the prize of prizes, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
But Hawkinson and Addison are pretty nice consolations to have if you're the Broncos on some of that.
So, Mike, I pulled this list up actually of available free agents. I don't know if anyone's restricted. I don't know. It just has the list. We got Pickens, Rashid Shaheed, Deebo Samuel, Alec Pierce, Jacoby Myers, Wan'Dale Robinson, Romeo Doubs, and Mike Evans, Keenan Allen, and Jawan Jennings. So,
and like let's say I think Dallas might try to sign Pickens. I don't know if they will, because I don't think they can afford him.
They probably will and should, actually.
They should. I just don't know if they can afford him. And Mike Evans, I think, is a little old. Honestly,
he's a weird one.
Like Jacoby Myers would be my pick out of that list.
I do like him.
Evans feels like a buck for life. He's either going to go back to Tampa or he's going to retire. So I don't think he's in the cards. One guy out of that list who I would back up a Brinks truck to is Alec Pierce. This dude is going to be paid a boatload of money. He killed the Broncos in week 2. Mm-hmm. He's a dynamic route runner. He could be the missing piece on this offense. I would be willing to give Alec Pierce a ton of money to come here. So if the Broncos aren't going to make a splash trade, Alec Pierce could be a splash signing. Hell, go get Pickens and Pierce. You could make both of those happen.
Well, and I will say, what is it? Mega Sam in the comments brings up Jennings, and I know exactly who he's talking about. Because, you guys know I've been a big fan of Jawan Jennings for maybe a year, 2 years. He is the prototypical Sean Payton wide receiver. He blocks his tail off. And if there's anything
he blocks his nuts off, yeah.
If there's anything we know between, at least from what we've seen this offseason, the Broncos aren't shy from grabbing people from San Francisco. And Jennings, if there's one thing that kind of puts some cool on it, is like he's kind of like their target right now at wide receiver. Because like everybody else is either a drama queen in Brandon Ayuk or Brandon Ayuk or and whatever. But like, I don't know, Jennings just makes so much sense from a Sean Payton type of things. I will say, I love the Alec Pierce idea. And
then Pat Surtain's podcast, when they had Riley Moss on there, the one receiver that he cited as being the guy was Alec Pierce. Actually, he said that he was surprised how fast he was, and he blew by him on one play in particular. But he cited him as and he's covered some pretty solid receivers over his time. He didn't mention T. Higgins, he didn't mention Jamar Chase, he mentioned Alec Pierce.
Yeah. And David Youngkin. Yeah, David Youngkin had asked this before, and we got so busy I missed it. We went almost all in on defense this last offseason. Do we go all in on offense this offseason? And one of the things that has been said by multiple media members in Denver is because of the amount of money that we're going to have, we are going to be big players in free agency, which is why I think we're sitting here talking about what wide receivers are free agents, what running backs are free agents, because we're going to have the money to spend, and we're probably going to spend it.
Yep.
And I think that there's another position we should be talking about.
Tight end.
Maybe, but I'm saying there's probably another, and that's linebacker again, because
inside,
alongside Greenlaw, because Singleton is up after contract and Sternad is up after contract. So I think that the Broncos, it would behoove them to look for a long-term answer next to Greenlaw. And if you look at some of the linebackers in this free agency class, it's solid. Like, it is a pretty solid linebacker class. So the Broncos, I think I will say this, it's kind of setting up to a certain degree, almost like this last offseason, where some of the needs, right? Like, some of the needs are kind of shaping up again to what the Broncos really need, and that is tight end. And Njoku is a free agent, and Elijah Moore played with David Njoku in Cleveland. I don't know. So I'm not ruling anything out.
I mean, and I disagree with that. I think Greenlaw's been really good when he's been on the field. And I do think that Pat Bryant is going to be in for an extended role in this offense for the long haul. So if they make a move at wide receiver, it's not an indication of Bryant. But at this point, you could do a lot better than Franklin. Like, if I had to choose between Alec Pierce and Troy Franklin, I'm taking Alec Pierce 10 times out of 10.
Denver needs to bring back Russell Wilson for real. We'll get John Elway right on that.
Right. And Jeff had a comment earlier too that Breece Hall is an unrestricted free agent in 2026, and I would love to have him here.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, he would.
Well, and I'm very curious because I know he's a shell of himself at times, since his injury, but he was interested in us, and we didn't necessarily return, and maybe that was just because of a trade. But Deebo Samuel is also a free agent, and and
I don't love him. I don't.
No, it's one of, like, I don't love him, but I like the fit, and so the question is just, there's a few times where we might actually like the fit, but we don't love the fit, and it's turned out to be, well, we love the fit, once we kind of see it here. But I will say there's some unique options in free agency though for the Broncos, because I will say, like, if they don't bring back Elijah Moore, well, shoot, my Nebraska fandom's coming out, and I want Wan'Dale Robinson to be a Denver Bronco like yesterday. If they're not going to give targets to Marvin Mims and Elijah Moore's not here next year, I want Wan'Dale Robinson in Denver. And I want him to be like their pure slot guy that could be able to operate in the middle, and I think he'd be fantastic.
He's having a great season. I mean,
yeah. With Deebo, I just don't think he fits from a culture perspective. Denver doesn't want any Deebo wide receivers, and Deebo is like the epitome of a Deebo wide receiver, so I'm good.
And if those are the types of plays that we're looking to do, I'd rather they give Mims more of an opportunity for those.
Sure.
You would think.
Samuel.
I mean, we've got Deebo Samuel at home right now.
Yeah, I don't know if I like the Deebo comparisons per se, but they would use him at such, but they also use him in a way that's like almost like Harvin too. But also it's one where I need him to be a little bit more of a better route runner, it seems, and we're not getting that.
Agreed.
Yeah. So we sit here and talk about potential next year acquisitions. We talk about offense. We talked about the defense. Let's talk about the leader of the defense, Vance Joseph. There is every possibility that he could be stolen by, let's say, the Giants as the next head coach. Are we worried about that? Do we think it's actually going to happen? And if it does, who steps in for Vance Joseph?
This isn't hard. If Vance leaves, it's Jim Leonard. And look, I'm going to slap Husker fans through the screen because I need them to understand this. I'm reading the On3 message boards. I'm reading, I am reading from beat writers and everything saying that, oh, Jim Leonard, I think he needs to be on the short list of candidates, for the Nebraska defensive coordinator job. He's not taking it. The moment Vance Joseph leaves is the moment he's the defensive coordinator in Denver. And 2, he went to Wisconsin. You think he wants to go to a rival school in Nebraska? Like, no. So, no. So, I mean, it's certainly maybe something to follow if things kind of percolate even more and more. But Nebraska fans, shut up. It's not going to happen.
I've been saying that for years. Nebraska fans, just shut up.
Yeah, seriously.
Wow.
Jim Leonard is not going to be your defensive coordinator.
Wow.
And I wasn't.
I don't even have any
about
bias
anything.
against Nebraska, but
the guy who
still,
likes
shut
New
up.
Hampshire.
Well, let's talk about what job openings do you guys foresee at the end of this season? I mean, just going down the list.
You would think it would be a team that has good players on the defense. That's why I immediately went Giants, because they have a good front seven.
Yeah.
And I think another thing, Vance Joseph wants a quarterback in place already because he didn't have a quarterback his last time as a head coach.
Well, plus you have Malik Neighbors coming back. You've got Cam Scatterbo. That's why I'm thinking Giants. But to Glenn's question, are there any other teams?
Well, I mean, Titans possibly, right? Like they've got a quarterback in place, but their ownership is a disaster. I don't think Sean Payton would let VJ go there.
Or would he want to, right? Like with all the things he dealt with as the head coach in Denver, with all the questions with ownership, would he want to go there?
Probably not, right? Like, and it's kind of the same thing with the Giants. Like, do you really want to deal with the Maras? Like, I know Sean Payton talks about the Maras highly, so maybe that's probably the most realistic one. Oh, come on, brother.
We're cringe.
Miami might be available, and
hey, listen, Gage just went and fixed a toe cramp, so it wasn't just sports.
Yeah,
right.
Seriously.
You know, what's great is that they actually took the time to comment. That's what's so great. What about Arizona?
Maybe.
I mean, you know, Atlanta.
I could see that. I will say, to Jeff Bryan's point, that is something I did not consider. Do I think he goes to CU? Not necessarily, but in this day and age of college and the way.
Sorry, there's no way Deion's getting let go. With as much money as he pulls into Colorado, not gonna happen.
Listen, if they pull roughly the exact same type of season that they do next year, like I do wonder if CU would be looking at it. Like I do think in this day and age of the NIL and this new day and age of the NCAA going more to like an NFL type of landscape, I wouldn't rule it out. And like that for CU fans, that's one of the first few names on their short list that they're going to be wanting to have be there. And obviously Alfred Williams is going to end up being a huge fan, and he's going to have a huge backing when it comes to the CU players. Like I will say, like I think that from a Vance Joseph perspective, I don't think he's ever coached college. Like that would be the one thing. Like I don't think like he's not coached college. It would just be like it'd be such an adjustment for him. Why
would you want to manage that? Oh,
yeah, and so I think that for me,
we found Cam's burner account, by the way. Trent.
Yeah.
What is that? Why'd you call it Trent 19s, Cam? Like what came?
Because I'm a closet Sherfield fan.
There you go.
Secretly, that's Trent Sherfield.
Yeah. But no, I think if there is one place I will say that makes sense but doesn't make sense for me about the Giants, it's Davis Webb. Like if I'm Davis Webb, I want to go to the Giants because of the quarterback situation and for what they have there. But it is
an injury.
But it's the Morris situation. It's the ownership situation. It's Joe Shine situation. It's like I may want to coach with the Giants, but it's like I don't know if I want to go there.
Ah, God, my toe.
Yeah, I didn't even have to fake an injury. I had an injury. And that's the thing with Vance Joseph. It's like he's got the luxury of being able to choose where he wants to go. It's kind of like Ben Johnson, where Johnson had a bunch of places like the Commanders. I think he interviewed with Atlanta, but he turned all these places down until that Bears job opened up. It was the perfect situation for him. And with VJ, he doesn't have immediate reason to leave Denver. He's got a good thing going here. He's got a home in Colorado. His family is based here. Why would you need to leave right now? So if you don't like this current cycle of head coaching jobs, you could say, nah, I'm good. I'm going to stay in Denver and I'll see what the market looks like next year. It's kind of like Mike Vrabel too. Like Vrabel was waiting for that Patriots job to come open. They had to do a 1-year trial run with Gerard Mayo because it was in his deal that he succeeded Bill Belichick. But Vrabel had the luxury of taking a year off and just waiting until his dream job became available. I think VJ is kind of thinking the same thing.
Mike was just giving him a thumbs up to both pornography and Jesus in the same.
I was just saying it's on my phone. If you want to check it out, you can.
Mike, that's what incognito mode's for.
Maybe I should have been doing. Maybe I should have been doing this podcast from my office at church I work at.
I wonder if Jesus for Sinners is going to tell me to shut up and like him.
That's Trent 19's burner right there.
Reminds me of those fucking religious people that are outside of the games, man. I mean, they're like on the megaphones. Jesus is coming. Forgive yourself all your sins. I mean, they are. Woo!
Those guys are nuts. Jesus equals ultimate pimp.
I don't know. I don't know if that fits, but
PIMP.
I mean, I'm not religious, so this is all just hilarious to me.
And it took a turn, and it wasn't me.
Once, Mike. And it wasn't me either. What a shock.
The word pornography comes and we all look at you.
Well, that's true. That's fine. It is what it is.
Wasn't it funny seeing this is bad, but Stephon Diggs having the verses like on his eye black last night? Did you see that?
No.
I'm like, didn't that guy impregnate like 4 women this year? Wasn't he just doing blow?
Cameron, get the show back on track.
Well, I was gonna say if there's only one thing God knows is that's the heart. So I mean I agree. Stephon Diggs is this it's been a wild off season, but there's only one thing I know.
I don't know.
All right, so we've talked about the last game. We've talked about potential additions. We've talked about
JFM. We haven't talked about
JFM. We haven't talked. Still waiting on JFM. Listen, you were the one talking about.
You're too busy talking about Mike's porn collection,
right? That's how you distracted me, Jeff.
Oh god.
Go ahead. I'm gonna.
So JFM, right? Let's try to get this back into football here. Now, John Franklin Myers, obviously, that's a very interesting conversation to have because he is set to be a free agent. Denver's been dishing out all these extensions, and JFM has not gotten one. And all indications are he's probably not going to get one. He says that he's still interested in returning to Denver under the right circumstances, meaning if Denver is willing to pony up the dough. But I believe he's going to have some suitors elsewhere that are going to be willing to give him north of $20 million a year, which I think he deserves. So if Denver's willing to pony up the dough, then great, he's going to be back. But otherwise, he's going to find somewhere else.
Yeah.
Cool. Done.
And really, that's probably the reason why they haven't signed him, not because they don't like him or care, or he's not a good teammate. I think it's that his not only his demands, but his value is way more. So
now he's on
I agree.
Well,
They drafted Savion Jones.
I'm lowercase though. Did you notice that? All caps.
All caps. Yeah. Well, and I will say to JFM, like, he's gonna get paid. This isn't a case of like he's not gonna end up being paid. Like he's gonna end up being paid. And they have the Broncos have reinforcements for JFM, if they move on, which is Savion Jones, that they got, and frankly, Iwama Uwazurike, who we need to acknowledge that is having a great and quiet season for possibly moving on from John Franklin Myers. But I will say this: I would not be the least bit surprised if they paid him, because when you think about this Bronco team and you think about like everything that they had coming into this season, they had a return rate of like 80+% like return players, which is absurd in college or even the pros. It's an absurd number. So, and I think that when you look at it from like the standpoint of like the roster continuity, the roster enjoyability, if you will, of being on this team, like, I don't know if I want to leave, if I'm John Franklin Myers. And frankly, if there is one thing we have seen in terms of a tune change from JFM than last year, he's dapping up teammates on the timeline for contracts. Like, he's being the ultimate teammate, not kind of like being a little bit more arrogant, like, oh man, when is my time going to come? Like, no, he's the first person to congratulate Malcolm Roach. He's the first person to congratulate Will Lutz. He's the first person to congratulate, some of these players. So he clearly wants that contract, but he's also not afraid to be the first person out there to thank the player who got paid.
Yeah. And I think when like Denver has a lot of money, but that doesn't mean that they're going to be stupid with it, right? Like, you look at all the contracts and extensions they've done, they've been really, really friendly to the Broncos and cap space and whatnot. And Denver's going to come at JFM with a range, right? Like, they're going to have a range of, this is what we think he should get paid. But that doesn't necessarily mean that's what JFM is going to want, right? Like, there's a very good chance that other teams are going to offer him more than what the Broncos are willing to.
And I think Denver's preparing for that.
Yeah. So I also think that because of where the Broncos are as a trajectory, we also can't rule out the fact of JFM, like, probably wants to be paid all this money, but like, he could also take a hometown discount.
Yeah.
And just like, it's like there's always that angle to it. So it's just like, I think that's the beauty of what the Broncos ownership group and everything has like established with this franchise. It's that like they've established so much continuity and a joy to be a Denver Bronco right now that nobody wants to leave. Like nobody wants to really leave this team. And also because of that, they also want it to be an attractive place for free agents to come to. So like, it is truly like the ultimate place that I would feel like for free agents that will want to come here. So as much as it's one where players want to come to Denver, it's also one where the players don't necessarily want to leave Denver either. So like, it is an attractive place to be.
Yep. And as much as we talk about us making these splash moves in free agency, the quality of these free agent classes has been diminishing year in and year out. So maybe Denver looks at it as the splash move we're going to make is bring back John Franklin Myers, and maybe we draft somebody, maybe we trade for somebody. Those are going to be our splash moves instead of depending on somebody to hit free agency. Maybe they think about it like that.
I think he's stalking you a little bit. Here, Gage, I'll let you take that one because we've talked about this in nauseum.
Me, dude.
Can we talk about
made a video.
How Riley Moss has been all year?
He has not been awful. I'm going to direct you to a video that I made on Broncos Syndicate because we would be here for the 10 minutes that I took to explain it. Riley has been very good. He is allowing a sub 50% completion. He leads the team in PBUs. He leads the team in passes defense. This dude is freaking good. He does get beat deep, and he gets out of position and gets grabby. Some of it is a product of shitty officiating. We've had that conversation so many times here on this channel. Again, if you want to hear my full thoughts, I will direct you to that video where I went in depth for a full 10 minutes.
Yeah, I think the easiest way to sum it up is Riley Moss is the second best corner on the Broncos, but it gets a lot of penalties.
Yeah.
I mean, other like technique-wise and all that, he's fine. Like, he's one of the best corners in the league. But like Gage said, he gets a little grabby and he gets penalties, which kind of suck.
Yeah.
His head is on a swivel every time he gets up after, looking for that flag.
Literally.
And then he's like,
Yeah,
There's
see,
no
same
flag.
thing we said in the green room. He looks like he's terrified in the post-game interview.
in the locker room, his eyes are darting back and forth.
He also leads the entire NFL in calls from the opposite side of the field as well.
Yes.
Love that one too. Good point.
I mean, Cam and I have been to multiple games this year where the penalty is getting called from the official who's 15 feet away from the play. There's no way he can see it.
Yeah. Well, and like, look, yeah, the grabbiness, that's one of his biggest weaknesses. But guess what happened in that Washington Commanders game? No penalties. No penalties. And I mean,
wasn't it getting tired that they kept
I
bringing
thought
it
he had
up?
one.
Oh, off him penalized. Just
and I think that, like, yeah, he gave up that huge play to Debo, and it was gut wrenching. But I think that the part that we need to focus on again is he made the play of the game. Like, he made the play of the game in terms of stopping Debo. And then again, to bring up the Burks thing, what is he supposed to do there? And frankly, that should have been OPI, not DPI. Burks is literally grabbing his chest and bringing him down while grabbing one arm in the air. Fantastic catch. But it is abundantly obvious he is grabbing his shirt and bringing him down. That is, you could go look that clip up, and if you can't see that, you are blind. You are blind. And for Riley Moss, like literally half of his like calls that are pass interference or plays like this are plays that are like you can't even explain.
Why am I Pueblo?
Why am I Grand Junction? What the?
I'll represent my city.
I'm on the
with
other
pride.
side. I'm on the western slope here.
Wait. Why am I Leadville? I'm confused.
I don't know. Yes, we do take talking point ideas. Throw them out there. We'd love to hear them.
Cam's real.
I was going to say, unless it's a JFM talking point, we'll take about 40 minutes, and then we'll talk about, a certain talking point.
Yeah. All right. We've got this next game against the Raiders, but where we currently stand, Broncos are first in the AFC West, 2-game lead on the Chargers, 4-game lead on the Chiefs. So basically, if we win another game, it's almost impossible for the Chiefs to win the West.
I mean, honestly, like, I was looking at the rest of the team's schedule, like
Montrose.
the entire, like, they basically play
I'll
the
take
same,
Littleton. I'll take Littleton.
they basically like play the exact same opponents, right? Like, and I think that if there is anything that if you're a Bronco fan, I would say we are huge Houston Texans fans the rest of the way. If you're talking like strictly from the division, like if you're talking strictly division, I will say we have to be huge Texans fans the rest of the way because they play the Chargers and they play the Texans. The Texans play themselves. The Texans play the Chargers and the Texans play the Chiefs. The Texans play the Chiefs next week, right? The Texans play the Chiefs next week. It's in Kansas City, but that we know defense travels, right? So it is one where it's going to be a bit of a tougher road too. And then, frankly, I would be surprised. I would be surprised at this point if Kansas City makes it into the playoffs. I mean it. Like, I would be surprised.
Yeah.
They've got no breathing room from here. Like, one more loss and their goose is cooked.
Which would be awesome.
Just going back to the cities, like, how is Cam not Parker? Like, wouldn't that be?
Yeah.
Trent, you missed on that one. All right, so let's go into the playoff picture. Right now, the Broncos are second in the playoffs in the AFC, only behind the Patriots, but the Patriots haven't had their bye yet. Right. So that would be why they have the lead. If the Broncos go 11-2, do the Pats have a tiebreaker over the Broncos, or do the Broncos?
No, we do.
No,
we would. If we beat the Raiders this week, which I expect all of us we will, then we will have the tiebreaker over the Pats because the Patriots lost to the Raiders at the early point in the season.
Mm-hmm.
Then you exposed him.
But yeah, so looking at like the games the rest of the way, Chargers actually have kind of a brutal end of the season.
And they're down both of their starting tackles, dude.
Yeah, didn't they start like their fourth different tackle?
And Herbert's injured again. And Herbert's injured again. Like, it's not on his throwing hand, but like, it's a brutal stretch. And they play Philadelphia. It's at home, but Philadelphia's defense is going to eat him up. And I understand why Herbert needs to play, but he's only making it worse by playing. And so they play the Eagles on Monday night. Then they play the Chiefs in Arrowhead. Then they play Dallas in Dallas. And then the Texans come to SoFi, where good luck doing that. And then they go play Denver. So they actually have Houston before we play them. So if anything, if the Chargers should be thankful that the Broncos have that division locked up, so that by the time the Broncos play the Chargers, we're actually sitting players, at that point. So frankly, the Chargers should be thanking us by sitting players, at that point after coming off that Houston game.
Yeah, and I think with the remaining schedule we got left, the Jags, the Packers are going to be huge games for the Broncos and for the NFL, because that's playoff seeding right there. Like, the Jags are third in the AFC right now. Denver's got a 2-game lead on them, but I mean, Denver's got Jags, Packers,
Raiders,
Chargers. I'm not counting Raiders. Chargers and Chiefs. And I think we can safely say all 4 of those games are up in the air as to who's going to win those games. So the Jags and the Packers game are huge.
If they take care of business in the Jags and the Packers game, there's no reason why they shouldn't have the number 1 seed. Like, we're getting to a point where they might play starters in that Kansas City game for a half, but they probably won't play them the whole game, and then they'll full-blown sit guys in that Chargers game. Those next few games are going to be critical. I think we're all expecting them to take care of business against the Raiders, but Jacksonville at home and Green Bay at home, both of these teams have been kind of inconsistent, like which version of them is going to show up on each given week. If Denver takes care of business, there's no reason why they don't have the number 1 seed. And if New England loses to Buffalo, we are in really good shape.
Then
I think one of the big things is going to be, depending on if starters play in the Chargers game, is if Denver slips on a game and the Chargers don't, and we're 1 game away, the Chargers would have the tiebreaker, so we would have to play our starters versus the Chargers to win the West.
And that's why I think after this Raiders game, the Broncos at the very least have to go 2-2. The very least have to go 2-2. And like, because frankly, I think at this point, it's still, in my opinion, it still sets up rather favorably for Denver to get the number 1 seed. And that's just because these next 2 games for the Patriots is brutal. Like, obviously Buffalo has been hit and miss this year, but the Bills are going to be pissed off with the fact that they lost that game against New England. And frankly, it's actually in New England. Oh yeah,
I'm saying they lost.
They lost at home.
Yeah, they lost at home. So and I was just gonna say, like, if I'm still talking roster, and if I wish, but if like,
where are all these Cam lovers coming from?
I have no idea.
Thailand.
India, right? Go check the location on X. But no, like, I think that, like, it's a thing where, like, they have to, like, if I'm looking specifically at roster, I will still take the Bills roster over the Patriots roster. If the Bills go into New England with that motion of, like, truly, like, we're gonna like win this game, they will beat the Patriots. And actually, if all goes according to plan with that roster, they should beat them by 2 scores. If a goal goes according to plan. And then they play Baltimore in Baltimore. So, like, and I think that, like, and we said it last week, but, like, I'm not even ruling out the Dolphins and Patriots game, because, like, if there's one thing we know about New England's history, for some reason, Miami has always had New England's number. And Miami's always had New England's number when it's in search for a number 1 seed. Ironically enough. So it's just it's something to follow on that.
I'm going to be honest, and you guys might hate what I'm going to say, but I don't necessarily know if I want Denver to have the number 1 seed.
Why?
I'd rather them sit at 2. I don't know. Like it's the same thing coming off the bye, right? Like we look like we had a bye hangover. We had all that momentum going, and then it was just gone. Like if we get the number 2 seed, we keep that momentum going. We play at home until we face the number 1 team, and the only way that's happening is if it's the AFC Championship, and if the Pats are the number 1 team, I don't think they make it out of their first playoff game. So I don't necessarily know if the second spot in the playoffs is a bad thing for Denver.
Well, but you still have to play 3 games as opposed to 2 to get to the Super Bowl. So at the end of the day, I'd still rather have the number 1 seed.
Yeah, well, you're at least guaranteeing the fact you're going to have home field advantage for the entire playoffs. Which, and I will say this: if Denver has home field for the if Denver has
probably a Stern fan,
if Denver has home field for the entire playoffs, I don't. Maybe it's just me as a fan. I feel a little bit confident about their chances to make it to the Super Bowl if they have that number 1 seed in home field throughout that playoffs.
No one wants to play at Mile High in the playoffs. No
honestly,
one.
Yeah, I'll take the number 1 seed all day.
I mean, I'll take it. I just don't necessarily know if I want them.
Well, I understand what you're trying to. What your point
Yeah.
is. Your point is you're afraid that they need to be playing every week in order to keep that momentum going.
The momentum going.
But I don't see a lot of people beating New England, right? I would hate to have to come out here for a game, so just.
If Cameron speaks, I listen. If Cameron thinks, I agree. If Cameron has 1 million fans, I am one of them. If Cameron has 100 fans, I'm still one of them. If Cameron has 1 fan, I am that fan. You need to put that in your name. I am that fan.
Cam fan.
If Cameron has no fans, I'm no longer alive.
Yep.
I love that. That's awesome.
I love the I am that fan. I love that when people do that with quarterbacks and everything. I love that.
Sorry, Trent, you're not the biggest fan anymore. It's right here.
It could be the same guy.
He's got all 3. He's Cam, Lady Man, all that. He's him.
Which is really impressive. He's commenting for 3 different accounts.
So we got the Raiders game coming up this weekend.
I thought it was Mario actually. It was but I went. He's on right now, so I'm like,
what
does he mean it's not him?
Even more impressive because he's going live.
We're all Cameron. We got the Raiders this weekend. Are we concerned?
I mean, maybe a little just because of how tough the Raiders played them last time, but somehow the Raiders have gotten worse since that game. Their offensive line is a freaking mess. Geno Smith cannot stay upright. He is getting put on his ass 12 times a game. So, quite frankly, on a long week, I think Denver should slaughter them. Will they? I mean, history says probably not, but I do think the Denver Broncos are going to go in there and take care of business, and they're going to play this Raiders team a lot better than they did last time.
Elijah Moore, 200 all-purpose yards.
That'd be sick. I mean, I'm down for anybody to have 200 all-purpose yards.
He's sitting there naked, wearing his towel in the dark with 3 screens.
Jeff got this guy confused with you, Mike.
Jeff, yeah. This is just a green screen behind me.
But no, and I just think that when you think of this game, there's really just only one part of it that is there's just one part of it that kind of scares me, and that's Brock Bowers did nothing in that very bizarre moved at a snail pace type game on Thursday night. Like, I just think that when you look at it, like Brock Bowers, like he didn't do anything. Like for as much as it was like a snail's pace type game, he didn't do anything in that game. And so that's really just the only thing that I would be worried about is like, and it's in Vegas, and I have to think that they're going to try their best to still force feed him. I'm sure obviously Vance Joseph knows this, and and frankly, Jade Barron did a great job. Like he did a fantastic job on Bowers in the first matchup, but we know Brock Bowers is one of the best tight ends in the entire NFL for a reason. And, and they also had Chip Kelly at that point. We should, we should make that point. Like they had Chip Kelly at that point. So this is a bit of a different offensive coordinator. But I mean,
he's actually going to be calling plays from their playbook.
But I think that's the other side of this too, that I believe was Mega dropped in, and they didn't have PS2 in that game either. And I think that, so I think if there is strictly a matchup that I would want to have, is I'm putting PS2 on Bowers the entire game.
I agree.
Yeah, Moose River.
Because the way they use Bowers, he's basically a wide receiver. He's not really a tight end. So, yeah, put PS2 on him all day long.
And if you remember the fans being pissed when the Pope visited Mile High, they thought he lifted the Mile High mystique.
I don't remember that.
I don't remember that.
That must have been before my time, man.
Broncos are good because of Cameron.
Okay, in the 90s, I was literally born on the last day of the 90s, so.
Wow. All right, I'm going Broncos 34-10 over the Raiders.
What do you say? What say you, Glenn?
I was going to be 34-17.
I'm kind of liking the 40-point burger outburst.
Wow.
I'm thinking because of where we are with like the Broncos kind of reinventing themselves as a pass happy offense, that's going to work well, I think, against the Raiders, going up against this. So I'm thinking it's going to be
oof.
I will say, I will say 43.
I'm good.
No, don't do that.
It was like a garbage point field goal or whatever at the end. Touchdown.
43 to what?
43-20 with a garbage field goal at like the very end.
Think the Broncos are going to allow 20 points?
I said a garbage field goal, so it doesn't really count per se.
Wow.
I like it.
All right. Well, we know we can't ask Gage because he's not going to say.
Yeah.
But it's fine. Anything else that we need to cover? I think we got it all.
No, these one-score predictions are terrifying.
I know.
That would. Oh, this losing this weekend would be like worst case scenario. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. It really would.
Oh, that'd be full sky is falling.
Well, we want to thank everybody for joining us in the King Cameron Love Fest today. It's been absolutely great. Make sure you check out the MHRT Network. We have all the shows you could ever want: Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then the neighborhood on Sundays or game days. But we are not doing the Raiders game this weekend because I will be gone and Bill can't. So make sure you head over to Broncos Syndicate, where Gage will be doing the live stream of the Broncos and Raiders game. Also, make sure you hit that join, the thumbs up, the subscribe buttons on both channels, MHRT and Broncos Syndicate. Tune in to, with King Cameron over here, doing mainly Broncos on Wednesday nights. Don't even look for Glenn because he doesn't have anything other than this show. So it's fine.
You occasionally post on Twitter.
The King Cameron Power Hour.
Twitter. Yeah. But yeah, we love the Broncos. We love Broncos country. We'll see you guys later. Peace out.
Fast lane when I pass in the street. Bag of money in the passenger seat. Simcoe's been asking for me on the road from the west to the east. Way up, I might never come down, cause the coast's racking up the flame out.